Marvel recently released the official streaming date of its first live-action Disney Plus series, WandaVision, which of course will feature Wanda Maximoff, also known as Scarlet Witch, and a somehow resurrected Vision, which if you saw Avengers Infinity War, you know that Vision was technically killed, I guess, by Thanos. So that's kind of the premise of the show, is like, how is Vision back? Wanda's doing some crazy stuff to bring him back, I guess. And that's going to mess with the whole universe that we know for inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The show will be premiering on January 15th, and I'm actually very excited for it. It is the first step toward Phase 4 of the MCU, where it's looking like things are about to get really crazy. There's probably going to be some multiverse stuff going on here. And this show has the potential to really shake things up as well in the MCU. If you haven't seen it already, go back and check out my video I did a while back, probably a couple months ago, on how WandaVision will actually affect the future of the MCU and like what kind of things I think are going to happen. So go check that out as well. We know there are already a ton of other Disney Plus series that have been advertised as well for Marvel, such as Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But as the news of the premiere of WandaVision broke, this got me thinking about what other Marvel characters I would want to see get their own Disney Plus series. Since we already know about all those ones. So today, I'm going to be discussing 5 more characters that I think should jump from the big screen into the streams of Disney+. Let's get started. AntMan is a character who, up until Avengers Endgame, hadn't really played much of a role in the MCU. Like, yes, he was featured in Captain America: Civil War, and he had his own movies, but he wasn't like the main focus. He is a cool character and was technically the reason the Avengers were able to defeat Thanos in Endgame, but I don't think his movies have quite done him as much justice as he probably should have had. So that's why I think having an Ant-Man series on Disney Plus would give us more of a look into the character and allow for more crazy quantum realm hopping adventures. I feel like there's so much more we still have to learn about the quantum realm, and it might take more than just another movie or two to explore it. Like, I guess they're in the works for an Ant-Man 3, but I don't even know if that would be enough to sort of keep us, give us enough information about the quantum realm. So I think having a series would allow them to explore that more in depth, and we'd have more adventures for him to go on. This would also allow for Marvel to build toward a third movie for the character, which like I said, I think they are advertising one, but they can make this in between to sort of build toward that, while it's also going to introduce some new concepts or characters that haven't yet been seen on screen if they did a show like this. Plus, who wouldn't like to see more team-ups with him and the Wasp outside of the movies, am I right? I just think it would be a fun little series to watch, and would feature a lot of, comedy shenanigans from Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne, and even Hank Pym probably, and maybe even his friend Scott's friend Louise could narrate the whole show. I don't know, that would be awesome too. And that would also connect itself to the rest of the MCU and make Ant-Man seem slightly more important going forward, because he's probably going to be one of the main Avengers that's sort of left over, because he never really teamed up with the Avengers until Endgame, really. I mean, Civil War, technically, but... So that would sort of make him more credible as an Avenger going forward, and we'd get to learn more about him if he had his own series. Okay, this one is probably not going to happen, but I think that getting more Guardians of the Galaxy adventures would actually be pretty interesting. They're a group of characters that travel through the galaxy taking down bad guys. So there are a whole lot of potential places they could explore and villains they could and more villains they could take down. You know, we've seen them take down Ego the Living Planet and Ronan the Accuser. They were kind of, which was all kind of tied into Thanos. We saw them in the Avengers. You know, they kind of helped out Thor and everything else. I have heard that the third Guardians movie is in the works, but because it's probably a long time away at this point because of I guess there were some issues with filming it for a while there. I think they dropped the director from it or something like that. So it's a long way away now probably. So why not give us a few seasons of a series featuring our favorite band of misfits roaming around the galaxy? I would also kind of like to see like a series featuring just Groot and Rocket, because those two, the dynamic between those two characters, like they're basically almost like father and son, or like, you know, Rocket protects Groot, and now Groot is like baby Groot, so he kind of has to, teenage Groot, I guess, but he has to like take care of him. I'd kind of just like to see that, or even just like little things like maybe how Gamora, or what Gamora was doing before she joined the Guardians, or Drax, or like we never really got to know exactly what Drax was doing, how he came to be known as Drax the Destroyer. So you could kind of tie in that a little bit as well, and we could see that. But even just a full Guardians of the Galaxy TV show, I think it would be awesome. And more Groot, having more Groot on screen is a win for me, in all honesty. Did you ever sit there watching the Thor movies and start thinking about what kind of things Odin must have done, like before Thor was born, before Thor even came into the picture? I mean, the guy is like thousands of years old, and we know just from the 3 Thor movies that he has a somewhat shady past, especially with his daughter Hela that he never told Thor about, so Thor didn't even know he had a sister. And even quite possibly the Infinity Stones he might have gotten his hands on at one time, considering there was a fake version of the Infinity Gauntlet in his little museum thing, or Odin's Vault, I guess is what it's called. I think it would be very interesting if Marvel were to give us sort of backstory into Odin's life, like when he was younger, or, you know, like long before Thor even came into the equation, before he got married, before he had Thor, everything else, like maybe like during his younger years in Asgard, because we've seen that with Thor. I think it would be cool to explore Odin in that scenario as well. I feel like there are a lot of different routes they could take with this, such as what Odin was like as a young boy, or what kind of adventures he might have gone on as he grew older in Asgard. And we could even see his father and his grandfather there and stuff like that. We've heard mention of them, but nothing really. Like, there were some battles they were in that involved the Dark Elves and the Frost Giants that led into the events of the movies. And it would give us a look into how Odin became the king of Asgard, like, long before Thor took up the mantle. Like, what did Odin do to then become king of Asgard? Like, did his father die and he had to take, you know what I mean? So we get all that kind of explored as well. We get all those questions answered. I think that would make for a very different and interesting Disney Plus series about a character who we haven't really learned that much about in the movies. Like, we know he is this all-powerful being. He runs Asgard, which basically means he's in charge of the 9 realms, or he tries to keep the 9 realms protected in a way, sort of what Doctor Strange and the sorcerers do for Earth, like protect the mystic side of things. But I think it would be cool to see Odin running around wielding Mjolnir or some other similar weapon, as he wreaks havoc against those who would dare to invade Asgard. Black Widow is a character that has a very shady past. Now obviously some of this is going to be explored in the upcoming Black Widow movie, which has unfortunately been delayed until 2021. It was originally going to be in May this year, then they bumped it to like September or October, I think, and then now it's back to May, I think, again in 2021. But I get the feeling that even that one movie won't be able to give us enough of a look into her past. Just like I said with like AntMan, how I felt like the movies aren't enough, we want more, so giving us a show about Black Widow might help us to explore her past a little bit. It might actually be a good thing, especially since she died in Avengers Endgame, and we won't get to see her anymore in like the present world of the MCU or any of the future movies. So I think people would be really excited to have more Black Widow on screen and sort of have it tie into the MCU. Just her days as a spy before she joined S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything else. And this would also be like a younger her, so you get a different actor than Scarlett Johansson to play her. I think having a series about a spy like her would be pretty cool and would help her to live on into the future of the MCU a little bit longer. Because the first Captain Marvel movie took place in the 1980s, and we hadn't seen her again until Avengers Endgame, like actually on screen in a movie, because it went Captain Marvel and then Endgame was right after that. I feel like there's a lot of mystery as to what she had been doing up until 2023 when Endgame takes place. Well, I guess 5 years before that, because she rescues Tony Stark. Before she joins the Avengers, what had she been doing up until that point? Now, of course, she did mention in Avengers Endgame that there were other planets that needed protection that, you know, didn't have heroes like the Avengers to protect them. But we still don't quite have a clear picture of what kind of adventures she might have gone on during that time, or what kind of villains she would have had to take down to protect those planets that she mentioned. I think a series about those adventures might help clear some of that suspicion and mystery that's sort of been shrouded around that. I am aware there was a second Captain Marvel movie coming sometime in the future, but that movie, I feel like it might take place in the years after Avengers Endgame. I don't know why. Like, honestly, I don't know why they would feel the need to go back in time again with her. Like, I don't know. I could see it, honestly, because I think they'd want to build toward the next Avengers movie and having her in it. So I think it would be she fights a villain from this time period, not from the 1980s or whatever. Which is why a Disney Plus series would allow Marvel to explore more of her history before adding her to the current crop of characters that will be making up the next Avengers team going forward. Whoever that may be, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You don't have Captain America or Tony Stark anymore, or Black Widow, so they're going to need this new group. Like, Hulk is still around, but is he going to be in the group? You know, whatever. But so before they add Captain Marvel to that, I feel like it would be a neat idea for them to explore her past and give us more of a look into her character as well, to get us to kind of get us more interested in her character as well, just like with Ant-Man and even the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know. So there you go, guys. Those were 5 more characters that I think should get their own Disney Plus series. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. Are there any characters from the MCU or even just from the comic books that you'd like to see get their own Disney Plus series? Like, I think even Nick Fury is getting one. I've seen rumors about that or something like that, where there's going to be a Nick Fury series on Disney Plus. You got the Loki series, Falcon and Winter Soldier, there's Hawkeye, all kinds of stuff coming out. So there's going to be a lot of characters, I'm sure, in the future getting their own Disney Plus series. So that's why I wanted to do this video today. So I hope you enjoyed it, everybody, and take care.